I see is this, and this is especially true for recipe bloggers, for people who take their own photographs and have to use them to kind of show their work. So think about like food, crafts, like, I don't even know, like, your bedroom design, or if that's something that you would want to do. The big thing that I see with these is when people say, like, I don't know why my pins aren't taking off. I'm doing all of the keywording. I'm doing all of the boards that I'm supposed to do. I'm following these strategies that these pros are telling me to do. What am I doing wrong? And I can take one look at the pin and say, here's your problem. Straight up, here's your problem. Now, obviously, I'm not a jerk. I don't know. Do you guys know that? I'm not a jerk. So I'm not going to be like, well, your photo sucks. Like, that's not helpful. What is helpful is saying, if you take your own photos, investing in good lighting or finding the time of day where lighting is really good in a certain room, or even just making sure that you can retouch the photos inside of Lightroom, or you can do it inside of Canva or PicMonkey, but it's not quite as good as like Photoshop or Lightroom. The difference between having a well-lit photo on a pin and having a pin that has a dark, dingy photo that you're not really sure what it is, like, it makes a world of difference. Because think about it, especially with Pinterest, but it's like this with everything, because a lot of us get a lot of our traffic from Pinterest. And Pinterest is a what? A visual search engine. So people do judge the book by the cover. They look at these pictures and they go, well, that doesn't look very appetizing. So I'm not going to click on that pin. And then they'll move on. That's not what you want to have happen. So if you are taking photos for your site, and whether or not you're actually using them for, your pin photos or your pins, if you're doing like a headshot or something for yourself because you want to have, your face on there, make sure that it's a photo with good lighting. Make sure that it's a photo with good lighting. If you are like, I don't know how to take good lighting pictures, I have some tips for you. But here are some examples of like what good lighting based on these stock photos that I found will look like. Again, you would click on this photo here. You would click on a pin that has this. If I saw a pin that was like the most delicious steak dinner, it very well might be, but this picture kind of looks not attractive. It looks not appealing. And so I'm going to pass it by for the next thing. Down here, I see this. And if you're telling me like how to make your own frozen yogurt, sounds like a plan, looks like a nice picture, I'm in. So that's kind of what we want to do with our photos, is we use it to the best of our abilities. We use everything within our arsenal to make sure that we are selling our blog well. We are selling, these are like, let's talk about pretending like these are pins, because we're going to talk about pins here in a second. If these are on pins, you are selling. That is promoting your content. That is completely all that it is using Pinterest as a marketing tool to promote your content to more people, to get it in front of more people's eyes. That's what it is. And the sales part comes in when people say, yes, I want to click on this. And when they say, yes, I want to click on this, or no, I don't want to click on this, a lot of it comes back to, is it an attractive picture? Is it a good pin title? We're going to talk about pins in a second, don't worry. But for certain niches, if you are in a niche where you have to take your own photos, there are a few things that will really, really help you. There's a ring light that you can get. I have my ring light right now sitting right above my desk. There's a light box so that it's literally like that picture says. It's a box that you plug in and it has kind of light emanating around it and it diffuses it so that this kind of a photo, like this little, well, no, not that one, this one. This guy would have been taken in a light box or something similar to it. It's probably in a professional studio where they don't have a light box. But if you're doing something like a plate of food, having a light box might really help you, especially if you're taking your photographs at night or something. You could use a tripod if you are doing your selfies. If you're trying to take brand photos, which I am such a big fan of, if you are not doing brand photos, that's totally fine. Having a tripod, a small tripod or a big tripod, it's totally up to you. But having some kind of a tripod where, if you're using it for your selfie photos, or if you're trying to be like, you using a product, obviously you don't want to take it as a selfie. That's not a professional look for your site. Now, there's nothing wrong necessarily with selfies, but if you're trying to kind of go up a level and kind of imply and suggest that you are an exclusive brand, you are high end or whatever, making sure that you're not just using Snapchat filters and selfies is probably a good way to do it. Now, granted, you can use the tripod to make selfies and take selfies for yourself, but as long as it's not like that kind of selfie, kind of can be problematic. But for good lighting, you can also get it's a box, is this LED studio lighting. And what it literally is, it's like a box that's like this big. It's like the size of a sheet of paper, and it's got a bunch of LED lights, and oh boy, is that thing bright. But if you're like, I only have space for like one thing, this LED light thing will really, really brighten up your entire room. So that's just, if you are taking photos for your site and you're using them in your pins and you're using them for your promotion of your content, having good lighting can really, really be the difference between nobody seeing your stuff and everybody seeing your stuff. Because at the end of the day, like I said, Pinterest is a visual search engine. Pinterest is a visual search engine. People do judge books by their cover. They're in, like, again, it's a split-second decision whether or not you like something or don't like it. And having a photo where you're talking about the most delicious steak dinner, if your food looks like a blur that was taken at like 11 p.m., people aren't going to click on it. That's just the way that it works. So high quality photos. And if you're not worried about lighting necessarily, making sure that you don't have photos that are pixelated. That's another really big thing, because if you have photos that are pixelated on your website, whether or not you're talking about like photos that you've taken yourself for the branding, or if you're talking about photos that are just like the pins, or like, an example of like this. If I took this and put this on my website and the pixels were like this big all over it and it's all blurry and fuzzy, you'd be like, this is not a good website. I don't want to be here. And you'd leave. So right off the bat, a few things that you can do: just editing your photos, making sure that they're good and clean and easy to see, very clear, very crisp. The colors are bright and vibrant. The whites are clean. The darks are clean, all of it. And there's plenty of courses that you can take, by the way, on making sure that you get better at photography. There's also a bunch of free stuff on what is it called? YouTube, on how to do that too.